Holy crap. This was an amazing episode. It's one of the longer episodes that I've done. It's going to be about an hour long, but this is with Diego Corzo. Diego Corzo is a dear friend, a multimillionaire at 32 years old. He understands house hacking. He understands real estate. And honestly, guys, that's what I was that's what I was going to ask him about. But we went deep on who you have to become in order to be a millionaire, in order to be financially free. And arguably, that is way more important. He gave this analogy in the episode you'll hear where if he just gives someone $1 million and they aren't the right type of person, they don't have the right mindset, they don't have the right skills, you'll lose it. So the money's not the key. The first step is what we call the foundation. So this is an amazing episode. Diego, this is one of the few episodes that I can just sit back and let Diego run with it and just offer tons of value. So enjoy this episode. And please follow Diego, his journey, his story. He's doing amazing things in the world. And I really, really, really hope you enjoy. All right. What's up? What's up? We're back with Diego. Welcome to the show, Diego. What's up, buddy?
What is up, Sam? How are you? Happy
Doing
Friday.
Good, man. Second time's the charm. We tried to film this the other day. We had tech issues, but thank you for being so generous and getting back on the show.
Of course. I know the first one was really good, so we'll see if we can do it again.
We're gonna add in some clips. I'm sure we'll make use of it. But dude, I wanted to say I got my Puerto Rico shirt on. I'm looking good. I'm ready for this event. So hey, tell everybody what you have going on. I think this is a nice segue into like who you are and you just kind of introducing yourself and what you're about, man. For sure,
dude. So I am super excited because next week. I'm going to be doing my first FI investor retreat in Puerto Rico. So we're going to have like around 25 investors over there. I got a penthouse that I got through Airbnb, and it's going to be an experience, and it's going to be all about investing in real estate, achieving financial independence, how to become financially free, becoming the person that achieves that. And then we have great guests. You're going to be coming. We have Lucas. We have Renan, another GoBundance guy. So it's all going to be about building financial freedom. And that's what it's all about. But the most important thing is your network, right? So I want to build an environment, a safe space too, for people to share their wins, share where they need help, and give them the accountability that they need in order to succeed.
Dude, it's so beautiful. Yeah, when you asked me, I want the listeners to know a couple things about you with this event you have coming up. One was I was so honored to be invited, man. And when Diego called me up, he said, I want you to be our millionaire case study, and I want to invite you, and we're going to interview you, fireside chat. We're going to do it on a yacht off the coast of Puerto Rico. And I called my wife. I was like, baby, I'm going to Puerto Rico. I got to make this trip happen. no matter. So, man, it's just such a testament to who you are on what you're doing with this event, because what people don't know about this event is that you're doing it at cost or at a loss to provide an amazing experience, to go all out. And I want people to know that just your heart, I feel like the reason you've become so popular, I feel like the reason your story is taking off, I feel like the reason you've become so successful from the time that I've known you is because you truly have people's best interests at heart. You want what's best for them, and you're willing to invest in them to do that. So this is not just a small little trip. You are going all out. We're going all over Puerto Rico to do this, and it's a really cool thing. So tell us about FI investors and like what that is and kind of what your vision is behind that. Because I think that's a great way, again, for people to get to know you about what you do.
Yeah, for sure. So I created FI investors because, so it stands for Financial Independent Investors. And it's all about not only achieving financial independence, but becoming that person that achieves that, right? Because I'm a big believer that first you become that person, and then through time, as you build the habits, as you build your network, as you're taking the action, that is when you get it. So it's about becoming financial independent, and then what happens after, right? Because like a lot of people feel like, oh, they set their happiness to their goal of becoming financial independence or even becoming a millionaire, right? It's like, oh, when I'm a millionaire, I'll be happy. Right. And then they reach that millionaire status, and then they're like, dude, it doesn't feel any different. And now they're like, what I thought was going to give me that happiness, it's not, right? So we like to talk a lot about too, okay, what happens afterwards, right? Like what do you do with your passions? What do you do to contribute, to give back? And that's one of the things that has me excited. That's why we created FI Investors, and most of it is achieving financial independence through real estate, which is the way how I did it. Right, I bought my first property at 23. I'm 32 years old, and I have a property. I have a portfolio of around 62 doors around the U.S., and I'm in 4 syndications.
So what I remember, this is a really cool subject, and definitely I wanted to dive back into it because I know we talked about it last time the other day about like who you have to become in order to achieve this financial freedom, this millionaire status. And maybe before we dive into that, I want to ask you just a very direct question, because I remember the day you became a millionaire, and I remember you made a post about it in our mastermind group that we're in together. And what changed for you after that? Did anything, because you talk about that a lot, like, hey, what happens after? So like, did anything change for you specifically, or what was that journey like for you?
Yeah, it was interesting too, because it was like right during COVID too. Like it was right as COVID started. But I had a goal to become a millionaire before I turned 30. And I did that in May. I believe it was around May of 2020. And it was more of a, hey, I hit it. It was an achievement, right? And it's more like, hey, like I remember I called my parents first when I got there. I called my friends. I remember I texted you as well and stuff like that. And I feel like it's definitely an achievement to be able to make it happen, especially because I had that as one of my goals since I joined that mastermind group with GoBundance. And it was more from the perspective of the hard work paid off to get there, right? But what's even crazier is that that was just the beginning to where everything skyrocketed afterwards, right? And it did give me more confidence too on doing the things that I wanted to achieve, and also it allowed me to continue to share my journey even more, right? To continue to inspire others. And sure, it didn't make me more happy from that perspective. Like it was just something that I achieved it. Congratulations, of course, blah blah blah, right? Awesome. But that's it. And then you move on, and I was selling real estate, right? So and I still do. I'm a realtor here in Austin, Texas. So then from there is more, hey, I have to close my next deal, right? Continue working it. Yeah, that was good.
Man, yeah, you've just achieved so much. I hope 62 doors, millionaire status by what age?
Millionaire status by age 29.
And now you're 32 years old, right?
32. Yeah.
32 have achieved multimillionaire status. So that it took 30 years. No, what did you say? 28?
Sorry, it took me 29 years, right?
29 years, yeah.
29 years to become a millionaire. And by 30, again, like by 30, 31, became a multimillionaire. Yeah.
That's so cool to see the hockey stick growth in that. So one of the topics I know you're passionate about is, and this is something that I learn from you every time, and it's just like great reminders whenever you and I chat about it. One of the things that you're passionate about is not just achieving the goals, right? But is like who you become in the process. And maybe that is even more important than actually achieving the goal. And I'd love for you to talk about that, and even the 6 steps that you teach in FI Investors, your mastermind, to get people to that. Talk to me a little bit about that, because I just found that so fascinating, dude. And I got to tell you, like the last time we were chatting, I was taking a lot of notes, and I was looking back at my notes, but half the notes were like, "Oh, that's good," like little things for me to remember and learn. So,
yeah, dude, no, that was good. And I remember that we were chatting, and at the end of the day, right, when you want to start to become financially free, right, you have to, number one, is be aware of where you are today, right? You have to be aware of where you are today so that you can take 100% responsibility. That's what sets the difference between people that want to achieve something but they don't do it, or they do. And it's a story that they tell themselves as to why they cannot achieve it, right? Because, oh, it's because of my parents, it's because of how I grew up, it's because of the government, is because of who the president is, or they just blame other things, right? It's their current circumstances. But your current circumstances don't have to determine your future. Tony Robbins has a quote that he says, the quality of your life is in direct proportion of the quality of the questions that you ask yourself, right? So, and you and I have been to a Day with Destiny event, right? At Tony Robbins, we spent like 6 days together, going to bed around 4 p.m. after jumping up and down with Tony Robbins. And then the next day, wait, like sleeping 3 hours or 4 hours and doing it again.
Yeah. Yeah. 4 a.m. Get up at 7 a.m. Do it again. Yeah.
Exactly. So but Tony Robbins says that the quality of your life is in direct proportion of the quality of the questions that you ask yourself. And it's as simple as this. When those situations happen, when you become aware, right, and you want to take 100% responsibility, you have one or two choices. You can ask yourself, why is this happening to me? Or you ask yourself, why is this happening for me? And when you ask yourself, why is this happening to me? You take the victim mentality because you're like, oh, this happened to me because that happened because this other event happened, or my parents didn't grow up with money, and like you just blame other people, right? But if you ask yourself, why is this happening for me? You take the empowered mentality rather than being a victim, and then you begin to look for solutions rather than excuses. When you do that, then you begin to play also, I think you can call it the universe, you can call it God, whatever, but you begin to play at a different frequency. And that frequency, and it sounds sometimes a little woo-woo, right? But it's 100% correct. Like your thoughts are attracting different things into your life, right? Your thoughts are what's attracting, right? And what's important about this is that first you begin with your thoughts, right? But you have to take that responsibility 100%. So first you become aware of what's going on around you. You tell yourself, okay, this is my story, right? Because a lot of people are telling their story, but they don't know that that's their story. So you have to understand and be aware of that. Then you take 100% responsibility. And once you do that, you don't blame everybody else. You are where you are today because of your actions, because of the cards that you were dealt with. That's fine. That's your situation. You take, okay, that's what I have. What can I do about it? What is great about this? Like what Rock Thomas says, right? Once you have the mentality, what is great about this, then you can, again, look for solutions, and then you can just go, right? Because now you can, now that you have that goal of becoming a FI, of course, the next step is connecting with like-minded people. Once you connect with like-minded people, dude, that is one of the key things. But is taking ownership of where you are, extreme ownership, and deciding that in order for life to change, you have to change. And it starts by your thoughts, right? And then from there, you can take action.
Dude, pure gold, pure gold. Your current circumstances don't determine your future. I just feel like somebody listening to that needed to hear that. And I think that that's cool to hear, because even like it's one thing to tell someone that's living in a dirt floor, is homeless, but like we all have to remind ourselves of that, right? Like no matter what area of life, like that's true for like your relationship life if it's not where you want it to be, right? Your current circumstance, that doesn't determine where you're going to end up, and just recognizing that you have that power. I'm really intrigued with this 100% responsibility thing. And I want to ask you this, because I asked you it the other day, but I want you to dive into it because it was so good, of just like, what would you say to that person who's like, yeah, Diego, but it's just not my fault. Like, it really isn't my fault. Like, these things happen, like these circumstances, like, I don't know, the government changed the rules. And like now my business doesn't work, or the laws changed, or this changed. I mean, how am I supposed to take responsibility for 100% of things that aren't my fault, that I literally had nothing to do with? How would you coach somebody on that thought process? Because, you get that a lot. It's easy to blame. It's easy to point fingers.
Yeah. The main thing is when you are looking for solutions, right? When you are, yes, sure, it is not your fault, right? But imagine this. I bet you then, and there's this story, right? That there was this kid, and there's two set of twins, and they had a bad childhood, and one ends up in jail, and the other one's super successful, right? And he doesn't drink. One is in jail, does drugs, drinks, alcoholic, and everything. When you ask them, hey, why are you here? Like, why are you in jail? And he's like, oh, because my dad was an alcoholic, and that's why I do drugs, and that's why I'm an alcoholic. That's why I'm in jail. I got with the wrong people, and that's why I'm here, right? And then you ask the other twin and say, hey, how are you so like why are you so successful? And they're like, well, my dad was an alcoholic, and I didn't want to be like that, right? So it's up to you to decide. Sure, you had the same circumstances, but it's up to you to decide your future, what you don't want and what you do want, and then the standards that you set for yourself, the habits that you're building. So sure, it's not your fault, right? But if you ask yourself the right questions, then I feel like you can take more the empowered mentality and look for solutions. When you're beginning to look for solutions, my suggestion is to connect with people that have already achieved what you want to achieve, because success leaves clues. So the goal is to shorten that gap, and that is what happened to me. And one of the things people, and for the people that are hearing the podcast, I say, oh, Diego, you have 62 doors, awesome, millionaire, cool, right? But that they don't know is that I'm undocumented. I don't have a green card. I don't have citizenship. I am a DACA recipient. I am a dreamer,
I
right?
get goosebumps when you tell this part of the story, man. Because, like,
Yeah. So
it's easy for people to say, well, yeah, easy for you, multimillionaire, to say, don't blame your circumstances. But then when they hear this part, and I want you to keep going, but then when they hear
yeah,
this part, it's like, oh,
yeah,
shoot, I really don't have anything to
exactly,
blame.
exactly, dude. Like, let me share this in a super glimpse, in a super quick way. I came here from Lima, Peru, with my parents when I was 9. We came with a visa. I didn't know that we were going to be undocumented. It didn't hit me until I turned 15 years old, when it was my turn to get my driver's license. At that point, I go to the DNV. They tell me, hey, with these documents, you cannot drive. I mean, you cannot get your license. I'm like, okay, my life is definitely going to be different than my friends. It's okay. I'm going to put all my emphasis into school. Graduate 30 in my high school class. I thought that this was going to be the best, like the thing for me to achieve the American dream, go to school, all of that stuff. And now I found out that I cannot get student loans or financial aid, right? After all of that stuff, I got into Florida State University. I had enough money to pay for college for 1 year, figure out that then I got an internship working for free. There, they tell me, Diego, you've done better work as a freshman. There was some seniors doing a year. You've done it in 6 months. We want to hire you. I'm like, great. I go through the hiring process. They say, Diego, everything is looking good. Just need your work permit. I call my mom. She's like, Diego, we don't have that. So now I'm 19 years old. I cannot drive. I cannot work. I can't get student loans or financial aid. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? Right? Like, you can say, why me? Right? But I remember what my dad told me, that the US is the land of opportunity, but it is up to us to find it. And my parents always told me, look, Diego, based on our situation, we can achieve what we want. We just have to work a little bit harder. That's it. You have to work a little bit harder. And that is the work ethic that they input on me and in my brother. Um, and so I began looking for solutions, right? One of the key things is resourcefulness. That is, I would guess, one of my superpowers is resourcefulness. So what happens? I begin looking online. I'm like, there has to be a way that I can get paid. I found out that even though I'm undocumented, I can get paid as a contractor. So I create my own company in order for me to do that, right? And then I can say, hey, I need to set up appointments, but it's too far to drive. This is pre-Uber, pre-Lyft in 2010, 2011. And dude, I had to ride my bike. That's my mode of transportation. So riding my bike to and from work, but I was able to get paid through my company, and with a suit in my backpack, dry enough, and like before going into the meetings and everything. But I had to do what I had to do to achieve my dreams. And too many people will say, oh my gosh, this is unfair. Sure, it's unfair, but if you're committed to your goals, you'll do what it takes to get there. And a lot of people are not willing to do that, right? So it wasn't until I turned 22 years old that I could work or drive. Like imagine that at 22 years old, I couldn't work or drive. 23, bought my first home. Then I meet the GoBundance guys, and I can share that story later. By 26, 27, financially free, and 29, a millionaire. And it's only because of the fact that I decided that my circumstances didn't determine my future, because I did it all through not being even supposed to be in this country.
So I hope the listeners are taking away. First of all, your story, man, is so inspirational. Thanks for sharing that. So inspirational. And I've heard it. This is the third, fourth time I've heard it now, but it never gets old for me. I'm like, let's go. It's like, this is good. And I hope what people are taking away from this is that you truly walk your talk, man. Like you're not just telling people not to blame. You are leading. I had a mentor that told me one time, he said, there's 3 ways to lead, Sam: by example, by example, by example. And Diego, you lead by example, man. You're like, that's how you lead. And I just, I appreciate that so much about you. So I hope what people are taking away is, hey, Diego's saying not to blame, and he didn't blame. He found a way. He found a hack. I mean, what a hack, right? Like, oh, I can't get paid, but I can create an LLC, right? That's what you did?
Yes, the government still wants to make money through taxes. So why not?
Right. That's great. I remember you posted something a while back, man, when the whole DACA stuff, and I'm, we don't need to get into that too much, but yeah. I remember you posted something a while back saying, hey, I'm undocumented, but you'd paid I think 40 grand in taxes that year or something like that. Yes, so you, exactly. Right? Was that? Yeah,
dude. And that is, I want to share that story because it's super important. This is a great example. This is a great example of what happens when you ask yourself, what is great about this, or why is this happening for me? Right? In 2017, not to get political, but the Trump administration tried to take away DACA. And he shared, Jeff Sessions, the Trump administration, shared that DACA that we were stealing jobs from Americans. And I was like, that is not true. That got me pissed because I'm like, look, we're in a capitalistic country. We earn, we get paid the value that we bring to the marketplace. So I share my story on social media. I come out for the first time on Facebook, all of that stuff, sharing, hey, I'm undocumented. The government thinks that I'm stealing jobs. And actually, I own 8 rentals. General Motors hired me because of the potential that they saw in me, not because I'm anything, not because I'm Latino or anything. It was because of my work ethic. Right. And then I'm paying over $30,000 a year in taxes, and I'm employing Americans as a realtor too. So it's sort of like, you think I'm stealing away jobs or I'm not paying taxes? No. So I share that story. And in me asking myself, okay, when they try to take it away, this means that if they take it away, then I lose completely protection. I can get deported because they know where I live and all this other stuff. I lose my license. I cannot work. And I was like, okay, what can come up from this? I'm like, I'm going to share my story and see what happens. And then, dude, that same weekend that I shared it, I appeared on Fox News Austin. I was asked to share my story on Forbes, CNN Money. I've spoken to, in Washington, D.C., to Congress, meeting congressmen from both sides of the aisle. In November, I gave a press conference with Chuck Schumer, Dick Durbin, and a few other senators outside the Senate. And it was only because I could have taken that victim mentality of holy crap, this is awful. I'm scared. Fear is going to take over. I don't know what to do. They're going to take DACA away. I was like, no, this is my time to be more of an activist and to try to make change rather than to let fear overtake me. And it's a choice. It's as simple as a choice, dude. That's it.
Dude, so good. I'm literally getting goosebumps as you're talking. So these 2 questions that everybody listening should jot down are, what is great about this? And how is this happening for me? I mean, it sounds like so much of what you just described came out of having that mentality, asking those questions. It reminds me a little bit of something that Hal Elrod would always do. Whenever anything quote unquote negative or bad would happen, he would give himself, I think he called it the 5-minute rule, where he would give himself 5 minutes. He could scream, he could curse, he could yell, he could punch the couch. And then after that, he had to just let it go. and he would move into the next stage, right? And I think he did probably have some question that he asked himself after that. What's great about this house is happening for me. And those are powerful, powerful, powerful questions. And it's so simple, right? And like you said, it's a choice. This podcast, a lot of the interviews that I've done up until this point are a little bit more tactical, real estate wise, but as you guys can tell, like I can just like ask Diego a question, let him ride, and it's just gold. So this is good. Like this is what I wanted. And so this is like let's call this like the groundwork, right? Like the deep roots, the deep foundation. When you build a skyscraper, if that skyscraper is called financial freedom or millionaire status, we all know skyscrapers have to have really big foundations, right? To be able to hold them up. And I feel what I love about your work is I feel like that's what it works on. So, not that you don't go into the tactics, because you do that too. And I want to go into that, real estate and co-living specifically. And I know you've got a cool perspective on house hacking and co-living, but you work on the foundations. You work on, how do you say it? Who you have to become, right?
Exactly. And that is super important.
Yeah. Before we leave this kind of thing, let's touch a little bit more on your story with GoBundance, because I think that will inspire people. And I think that you were very intentional. And there was a piece of that story with GoBundance that I really want you to add in that we didn't talk about last time, which is how you just volunteered. I think you offered to work for free. You were just like, you were going to do whatever it took to get around the right group of people that would inspire you. So I'd love for you to share that piece, and then anything else you want to share around that, because I know that's one of your steps on the foundation.
Yeah. And dude, to talk about the foundation really quick, the reason why I like talking about becoming that person that achieves financial freedom, or that achieves, let's call it becoming a millionaire. If I give you $1 million and you're not ready to be the person that gets that $1 million, that knows how to manage it, you're going to lose it. You're going to go out there, you're going to buy the Bugattis, the cars, Lamborghinis, you're going to go and do drugs and everything just because you're in a high, right? That's why people that win the lotto, sadly, they lose it all in a matter of years. They get depressed. Some, unfortunately, even commit suicide. Some get into drugs and die with overdosing. And it's sad because it's like they never became the person that knew how to manage it, right? I believe that if they win that, they should take like for 6 months, like a Robert Kiyosaki financial class mindset on like, hey, now that you have the mindset, here, take 10 million and go have fun, right? But that fun is going to be wanting to build because they have become that person. And that's why it's so important to build that foundation, right? Because if not, no, it doesn't happen. You will lose it. So the story with GoBundance, it's what I shared, right, of me not being able to work or drive till 22 and becoming a millionaire at 29. One of the main key components to that was who I surrounded myself with in that journey.
And how did you learn that? Was that just something you knew intuitively? Did you read that somewhere? Like, how did you know to surround yourself with other people like that? Yes.
So while I was at General Motors, well, number one, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was 21 years old. 21 years old. Our friend Pascal, he's one of my best friends. He threw me that book while we were in college, and he's like, dude, this book is gold. Read it. So in that book, though, it talks a lot about personal development. So I began listening to personal development audibles, YouTube videos. Dude, YouTube, you put Jim Rohn there, and you can listen to hours and hours of Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn says, you're the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. And I wanted to become a millionaire. I wanted to achieve financial independence. I didn't know how I was going to get it yet, but that's what I know that I was going to do. And in that journey of me looking for the 5 people, right, that circle, I began to look and listen to different podcasts, and one of them was an interview with Pat Hyben, who's one of the elders of GoBundance. So I reached out to him on Twitter, and I sent him a message. I'm like, hey, Pat, I just heard your podcast on Super Agents Live. Thank you so much. This is what I learned. Then he sent me a message to listen to his podcast too. So after every episode that he did, I thanked him. I tweeted at him, "Hey, this is what I learned. Thank you so much." I was 23, getting my license as a realtor, and then in one of them, he interviews David Osborne, and they're talking about the power of the mastermind. So I sent him a message through DMs on Twitter, and I'm like, "Hey Pat, what is GoBundance? You mentioned the mastermind," and he's like, "Well, it's a tribe of millionaires who like to lead epic lives, and we talk about health, financial independence, and contribution." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I want in." So I go through the website, I fill it out, but notice that he said millionaires, right? And I was like, it doesn't matter. Like, I need to figure out a way for me to get in there. And so I filled out a form on the website. I talked to another guy. His name is Tim Rode. And Tim Rode has a heart of gold. So I tell him my story, and he's like, "Diego, I know you don't even know me, but one day you're going to be speaking at one of my events." And I'm like, "Oh my God, who the heck is this dude?" And he's like, "Let me see what I can do, because this event is for millionaires." So he gives me a call back 2 weeks later, and he's like, "Diego, the event is in August. We'd love for you to come. Just know that you're going to be one of the ones that's not a millionaire." I'm like, "Oh my gosh." So I put it on a credit card and I go. And I had no idea that it was going to be at David Osborne's house. Like, I had no idea. And, but when
And David Osborne, for context, David Osborne probably has, 170 million, not thousand, million net worth, flies a private jet, owns several regions for Keller Williams, very, very, very successful dude, New York Times bestseller. So I just wanted to have that context, but yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. He's a boss. and, and so I go to the event. It's August 2014. And as we're doing the introductions, we had to share how we got connected, like how are we in that room, what our net worth was, what do we do? And everybody's going around, and David is like, "My net worth at that time, my net worth is 40 million. David Osborne, this is what I do, the regions, properties, all that stuff." Another guy goes, I run a $5 billion fund, this and that, or they want to get it to a 5 billion fund. Another guy's net worth is 10 million. Another guy's 5. When they come to me, I'm like, "My name is Diego. I'm 23 years old. My net worth is $25,000. I work at General Motors, and I'm a realtor, and I own 2 properties." And just like you, they were like, "Who the heck is this kid?" Like, they laughed, and they're like, "What the heck?" And but after that event, and I told them everybody had a connection to it. They mentioned a name, and I was like, "I found out about this through Twitter." And they were probably like, "You millennial kid, like, why you find it on Twitter, on social media?" And but after the event, I played full out. I played full out. Anything that they needed help, I was there. And after the event, they pulled me out to the side and they said, "Diego, we created GoBundance for millionaires, but we love your story. We want to help you out. We want to help you on your journey through everything that you've been through. Will you be our first apprentice?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, yes, I'm in." And then from there, I provided as much value as possible, which was using my tech skills. So I helped them on with their website. I helped them with so many different things, their email campaigns, sending out all of the packages. Whenever you join, you have like a backpack with books and a letter and everything. I sent those out for like a year into GoBundance. So
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yes, yeah. So my garage they mailed them to my house. I'm like, "What is this?" And it was like books on books on books. And but yeah, I volunteered. They didn't like me at the UPS store or whatever I went when it was my turn, because I was working at GM. So imagine I have to leave I get there at 4:40 and they close at 5 or 5:30, and I would come in to send like 30 packages. They're like, "Are you serious?" Yeah. But
you hustled, man. That's what I'm hearing, is like all this was you hustling, you putting that work ethic in, you going a little bit above and beyond to impress.
Exactly. And then what made the difference then, after I said yes, I started showing up to event after event after event, and I began taking action on what they told me. And that is the difference, right? A lot of people will ask people on social media or to ask them for a cup of coffee, and then they go get coffee, and then they follow up, and then they never took any action, right? It's like people want to help people that take action because they want to see results. They want to see if I'm going to be taking time from them in asking my question, it will be a disservice for them to just tell me what to do, and then I go home and just watch Netflix, right? And so the idea is that I took action. If they said, Diego, go to a Tony Robbins event, that same 2 months later, I went to my first UPW. Then I went to, like, I just did so many things. They told me, go take a speaking class. I took a speaking class, and so forth. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. I know we talked about this last time too, is like, you almost had to have a little bit of blind faith, right? To take what they were saying and say, okay, like, because I think what's interesting, and I'll see if I can put this into words, is a lot of times when we go to someone more successful than us and we ask them for advice, their ideas don't make sense to our brains. But if they did make sense to our brains, we wouldn't be asking them for advice, right? I feel like the reason a lot of people go home and watch Netflix is because they're like, okay, like that's cool, but like for some reason it doesn't fully make sense to them. And so I think there's this key of like, I went, I asked, and you know what? That doesn't make maybe a ton of sense to me, but it has to obviously be filtered through your system, but you have to have some faith to step out and say, look, I'm going to do this because, like, I remember I was listening to a successful speaker the other day, and he was saying, guys, you would do way better just putting all your beliefs about money on hold and just borrowing my beliefs for a few moments and just borrow what I've got. And because look what it's been able to get me. And your beliefs are a big thing that accelerate you to that success. So you did that, right? Is what you're saying, is you had that, you said, okay, this is where I want to go. I respect, admire these people. Now I take their advice and I put it into action.
Exactly. Because I knew that what they had was what I wanted.
Right.
So
there was alignment there.
Exactly. So then there was alignment. And when there's alignment, then you can go back and take action. And just like the book in Think and Grow Rich, right? It talks about you have to have the burning desire, but you have to have that faith and then the perseverance. You have to persist in that. And if you don't have that faith that is going to happen, it's not going to happen. Like, because of the fact that, like, you need to have that faith, and that comes by trusting the process. You have to trust the process, because in reality, like, everything's already out there. Like, all the paths to becoming a millionaire, like, really, like, it's there. You just have to put in the effort. And then when you put in the effort, you get opportunities to get lucky. It's not like luck exists. You have to put yourself into the rooms. You have to put yourself in situations to get lucky. A lot of people are like, Diego, like, if they're like, how can I, if they want to close X amount of homes as a realtor, I'm like, if you have 20 conversations a day about real estate, you will get lucky. Like, that's where luck comes in, right? So you have to put yourself in those positions, and not many people are willing to put the work, or maybe they are, but not for the enough length of time that is needed. They give up too easily because sometimes their why is not strong enough, or maybe because they feel like they were okay where they are at, but that is fine, right? Sometimes complacency is worse than hitting rock bottom. Because when you hit rock bottom, it's like, crap, this is where I need to change. Complacency is like, you're doing okay, right? If I give you an example, you can eat a burger that's okay. You're like, yeah, dude, it's okay. If I give you a disgusting burger, you might take a bite and you're like, this is bad. I'm not going to eat it. But an average burger, you'll eat it. You'll be like, yeah, it was decent. But a great burger, you'll be like, oh, heck yeah, let's go. Right.
All right. Give me your best. So give me your best. I think a lot of people listening to this could resonate. I mean, I know I can in some areas of my life. And keep in mind, guys, all these things that Diego's talking about, these are what I love about this. What I love about this conversation. I know this didn't go exactly where we were planning on it going.
I know.
But like, what I love about this is this applies to every area of life. This is not just real estate, money. This is like finances. This is like how you feel every day, your emotional state. This is your mental state. This is your physical health, your body, right? your friend group, all these principles can be applied to any section or category of your life. Complacency is worse than rock bottom. And I know for me, I can relate to that sometimes. Like, well, we just sold a bunch of houses, and it's like, okay. And I don't let too much grass grow under my feet, but it's like, I can see the tendency towards complacency. Mm-hmm. So what's your best piece of advice for someone that's just they're successful, maybe even, Diego. They're maybe even successful, you know, but there's a little bit of that loss of drive and that loss of like going the next thing, that complacency, that middle ground. How does someone get out of that though? Like, that's the real key. Like, do you sabotage yourself so you hit rock bottom? Like, that's one strategy, right?
Right. And that might be it. And it depends too, right? And this is where you can get super philosophical too. It's more like, and I love these conversations, by the way, it's more like, if you're successful, right? If you're successful, it's up to you to determine, okay, you would want to be either more successful, that something else has to pull you to do that. But the main thing is, if you have because some people may not have that desire. Like, maybe they've reached a level of success. I'm like, holy crap, I made it. This is what I wanted. Now I'm good. Unless you're being pulled to do more, and that will be determined on what you want to do, right? Like what Tony Robbins says, if you're not growing, you're dying. But it doesn't have to be monetarily. It can be you growing in contribution and giving back and giving your time. But one example of this is the golden handcuffs of corporate America, where you might be making $120,000 and you're like, holy crap, like, I'm good. Maybe it is 200,000. You're like, I know that I want to achieve financial independence, but dude, if I just stay here in my job, I know I'm working 40 hours a week, but dude, I'm making $18,000 a month. It's like, that's great. And if you look at it and if you think about it, it's great. But are you happy? Right? Are you fulfilled? That is the thing. Are you fulfilled? And that's what Tony Robbins talk about, like the science of achievement, but the art of fulfillment. And the main thing here is understanding that complacency comes from the golden handcuffs, that you are okay, but you're not great. And then you have a desire. And if here's the key thing. If you begin to hate on other people because they have what they have, but you're being too complacency, I was going to say some other word, but if you're just being like if you're not willing to put in the effort, and then you're just hating on other people and saying, oh, easy for you to say. It's like, no, dude, I put in the work. It's like easy for you to say that I'm a millionaire or whatever. But I'm like, dude, I was house hacking and living with roommates till I was like 29, 28, right? Like, you have to put in that sacrifice. And it's not something that a lot of people are willing to do because they become complacent.
Wow, dude. Thank you. Great stuff. So let's transition a little bit here, because I know we can go down this rabbit hole for like another 45 minutes. This is freaking gold. Let's talk about house hacking a little bit. So the name of this podcast is Scale Your Real Estate. It's real estate. It's real wealth. It's real freedom. And I know you're a fan of real estate. There's reasons why you invest in real estate, but maybe just start off with why real estate for you, as opposed to, say, stocks, or you worked for GM, it's a big corporation, so putting money in a 401k or those different more traditional, kind of the way the system teaches us, right, to invest. Now, I was homeschooled K through 12, so my parents were already like way outside the box. I didn't have that kind of ingraining in me. But why real estate for you? And then I'd love for you to talk about a little bit about your experience with house hacking and what you see for the future of that. And I'm saying house hacking. I tell people, like, don't use that term anymore, because it makes it sound like, it's this like kind of, under the table kind of thing. But like, the truth is, that's kind of how it started, was just as a hack. Right. And now there's companies, Bungalow, Pad Split, Bungalow. I don't know if you know this or not. Bungalow is a co-living company, just got a $600 million evaluation. And I don't even think they own any real estate, bro. They just are the platform that people list their rooms on. So there's kind of this trend, right? It's going from house hacking to co-living, right? To a more real strategy. And that's part of my mission, is to promote that and talk to that about real, to investors. So anyway, there was a bunch of questions in one there, but I want to hear why real estate, and then your experience with house hacking or co-living.
Yeah. So the main thing as to why real estate for me was because of the fact that I could. So in reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, it talked a lot about real estate. So I bet you maybe if I had read a book on stocks, maybe I would have like achieving financial independence in stocks. Maybe I wouldn't be in stocks. I don't know. But Rich Dad Poor Dad was a book that basically talked about real estate, and then I could see it, I could touch it. I was in a home, like I was living somewhere where I could be like, holy crap, I realized this. So here's the thing though, is that within real estate, you can buy a $200,000 asset with less than $10,000, right? Not many people can. You cannot buy. If you want to buy $10,000 worth of stock of Tesla,
Yeah.
you're gonna buy with $10,000.
You need 10 grand or 200,000. If you're going to buy 200,000, you need 200 grand.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. If you want to buy 200,000 worth of stocks, you need 200,000.
Yes.
With real estate, you use leverage, and then you can get into a property with 5% down. You can get into a property with zero money down, right? Zero money USDA loan, VA loan, FHA 3.5%, and 5% with a conventional. And now they even have 3% down payment. So you can get a $200,000 asset, and for easy math, you put 5% down, you have $10,000. With $10,000, now if you are house hacking or co-living, but you're living in the property, because to qualify for that loan, you need owner occupant, you can rent out the rooms and live for free, or you can buy a duplex, triplex, or quadplex, live on one side and rent out the others, right? But what does that do? That lowers or eliminates your housing expenses. Then you can do that again every year or every 2 years. And because now you're living for free, right? That's what happened with me. I bought a home putting 5% down. I was making $300 from the first rental. From my first house hack, and that also paid for, so that I was living for free, and it paid for my car, right? So since 24 years old, I've been living for free. What does that mean though? This means that now I can save more money, the money that I was saving even while I was living somewhere else. I can save that money. Now I can save even more money because now I'm living for free. And then after I buy property number 2 that I house hack, I move out from the first one and move to the second one. Now I can make $1,000 from property number 1 by putting somebody in the master bedroom, and I'm still living for free in property number 2. So then momentum can become your friend. And similar to what you said, you hockey stick up, right? That momentum becomes your friend. You need to have time to let momentum become your friend and not quit, because people will quit right before momentum, right? They're like 3 feet from gold. I haven't read that book yet, but there's a lot of like that thing called three feet from gold. But it's because once you let momentum become your friend, then dude, that's when you can skyrocket. And that's what happened with me. I bought a couple of properties, then momentum began to happen. Then I got a partner, then I got another partner to do Airbnbs, and then boom, boom, boom. Then I started just buying more and more properties. And the key thing here, though, it started with property number 1. I always let people know, hey, how'd you get to property 60? And can you share on this? Can you share on that? I'm like, dude, it started with my first house hack. Just get your freaking first one, right? And once you do that, when you're just getting started, a lot of people they get analysis paralysis because they want to hit a home run. I tell people, just get started and get to first base. Because by getting to first base, you create that opportunity for momentum to happen. You begin to start learning about being a property manager of your own property, learning about real estate. Then you build connections, right? Now you have an investor-friendly realtor, you have the lender. That investor-friendly realtor introduces you to the HVAC guy, the roofer, all that stuff. Now you're creating your team. But people don't create their team because they don't have the property. They're like, oh, I cannot do it yet. I'm like, just get to first base. And then you'll see that happen.
I think a key point to what you just said, and if anybody listens to this, is not like you didn't make more money when you were at the beginning part of that hockey stick. You didn't make more money so you could go blow more money. And I think there's some people that need to hear this, right? It's like, hey, for a while, this is accelerating the money making machine. That's the mission here. And I know you're big on that because that's one of the principles you teach in FI Investors, right? Is, hey, I got to increase my income. You teach that through a side hustle or through another gig or having another job or whatever. But I mean, another way, what is it? Benjamin Franklin said, a dollar saved is a dollar earned. So like if I'm spending $1,000 a month on my living, and I can, I even have family, some people that aren't single, they can live in the top, right? They can rent out a basement if there's like a mini kitchen in the basement. So there's other ways to do this, even as a family, even with a wife, even with kids, right? You and I both started this game when we were single. I love finding in Charlotte, you can find some of these homes where you've got like the single family home and you've got like an apartment above the garage. Gold, right? Because you're then reduced because you can rent that, you can Airbnb that, you can rent that out as a long-term thing. One of my good friends, Paul, who just moved to Asheville, North Carolina, just did that. He specifically looked for a house him and his wife could live in, and then it had an ADU or something in the back. So I love that you're having the discipline to put your money back into the machine to get to a point to where that thing is rolling on its own. What do you think is the future? What do you think about co-living as an investment strategy? And what do you think is the future for that house hacking? And maybe along with that question, what do you think are the greatest opportunities in real estate right now?
Yeah, that is a really good question, because I think house hacking is one of the best ways. I'm in Austin, Texas. It is one of those markets that boomed, like went crazy during COVID. Now it has come down like 15%. Which I think is fine, is healthy, because we went up 40% and it was just crazy. As a realtor, I was submitting offers 100,000 over asking, and we weren't getting it for some clients. So it got to be crazy. But here's the thing with house hacking, right? For example, for that property with my first house hack, I bought it for 170. If I would have put a family there to rent, it was a 4-bedroom home, it would have rented for 1,400 at the time. 1,400 at the time, right? I was able to get 1,600 with the roommates and me living in the master living for free, right? So when I moved out,
1,600 plus you lived for free.
Plus I lived there, right? So here's the thing: is once I moved out, I rented all 4 rooms. I was making 2,400, no, 26, around 2,500. Imagine that, instead of 1,400. So it creates a great opportunity to increase cash flow. Yes, it is a little bit more hands-on, 100%. But it is something that if you are willing to do that hands-on work, you can cash flow so much more. And by being able to get, for example, multiple homes like that, unfortunately here in Austin, we don't have the basements like you guys do where you live. So I can only do the 4 or 5 bedrooms, right? But I know you can, you convert the bottom and you add 2 or 3 bedrooms there. Now you're making even more. That doesn't mean that you cannot do it, right? I have some homes here. At one point I had 5 homes. A few of them were with Pascal, and we were just renting them out by the room, and we were cash flowing a lot more than if we were just doing a single family, like a family living in that property. So co-living, it's a great way to be able to increase that cash flow, especially in markets where, for example, a lot of people talk about the 1% rule. In Austin, dude, that does not exist. That hasn't existed since 2014, I think.
And the 1% rule is like, if I buy it for 200,000, I need to be able to rent it for $2,000 a month. That's the 1%, right?
Yeah, exactly. Here in Austin,
but there it's like what? Like cheapest house is probably what? Like in a decent area is what, 400,000 or 500,000? I mean, what's a
exactly. Yeah. So it's around 400, and it will still rent for like 2,400, if that, right? So it's not there. But if you put in some roommates there, and now you do, instead of getting 22, now the rooms have gone up as well. So now you can get like 800 per room, times 4 is 3,200. So you can get 22 or 32, and you'll be okay, right? So that's what's great about it.
Yeah, we found there's a formula, regardless of basements or anything like that. We found the formula goes like this: if it's a 1,500 square foot house, we can get 4 roommates in that house. And you're like, well, like, how do you know that? Like, what if it's an open, what if, how do you know? Like, it's just from me looking at literally hundreds, if not thousands of floor plans, like I can find a way to fit 4 good sized bedrooms in 1,500 square feet. And then every 250 square feet beyond that usually can be an extra room as long as you're willing to add the walls and the closets and things like that. So 1750 is 5, 2000 is 6, 2250 square feet is 7, 2500 square foot home, regardless of, kind of how it's laid out, you will have to add walls and things, is so 2500 square foot would be 8, right? That's kind of that's the formula that we found works almost anywhere. Now, sometimes if it's like a really modern, new, like open concept house, it doesn't break up like that, because you're like, it'd just be too many walls kind of thing, but most of the older, little older houses will do that. Yeah, it's interesting, man. It's co-living is like the management is the biggest piece, right? You kind of alluded to that. It's like, hey, if you're willing to do a little bit more of that hands-on work, then the cash flow can be there. And that's the key, right? Is finding that either right management partner or the right company to actually do that. So
yes, here's the thing. In the beginning, when I started doing it with Pascal, right, for anybody that's looking to be like, maybe I don't have the time to do the management myself, maybe you can partner up with somebody that can do that. So I always like to tell people that when you're looking for a business partner in real estate or just with anything, is you should partner up. Like, everybody has their unfair advantage. Everybody has one. You just have to look for it, right? That unfair skill, your superpower, your unfair advantage can be time, can be money, knowledge on the market, like your experience, and then your network, like your experience and who you know. One of those four, if you can bring 2 out of those 4 and you partner up with somebody that has the other 2, then you're golden. And I can give you examples where that has happened multiple times for me, in different businesses, in different partnerships, and investing, different things. Those 4 have definitely been able to create good partnerships, so that we combine our unfair advantages.
Well, that's a nice segue into, because I know a lot of partnerships and things happen in the community that you're building. FI Investors, I know that's like a very close knit group of investors. Partnerships happen, cool stuff happens. So tell me about just where people can connect or with you or find out more about the FI Investors and what that is. I'd love for you to kind of, as we wrap up here.
Yeah, man. So with FI Investors, really quick, one of the things that we teach is like the 6 keys to achieving financial independence, right? And before I forget, because you mentioned this earlier, number 1 is managing your personal finances. So knowing how much money is coming in, how much money is coming out. Number 2 is scheduling personal development, right? Jim Rohn has a quote that your level of personal development will seldom exceed your level of success. No, your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development, right? Yes. And number 3 is your peer group, understanding the power of your tribe. Number 4 is goal setting with accountability. Number 5 is that side hustle that we talked about, like increasing your income. Number 6 is investing for passive income. That's the last one. But we like to start with the foundation, as you said. So with FI Investors, we're a community of investors looking to achieve financial freedom and what happens beyond. Right. So for anybody that's interested, definitely they can reach out to me on Instagram at Real Diego Corzo, or they can check out thefiinvestors.com and they'll be able to check more about the mastermind. We meet every Monday night at 8 p.m. Central, and we're going to be doing the event in Puerto Rico. So
this will air. Yeah, this will air after that event, but maybe they can catch year 2, because I'm sure there's going to be a second annual one of them.
Oh yeah. If anything, it might be like later in October or something, but we might do another one. But the idea here is like, how can we help people achieve that level of financial independence, right? And give them a community where maybe they're the only ones in their family that have this mindset, and maybe they're the only ones in their peer group that has this mindset. So we want to create a space where they can come in, where they can grow, where we can help them become 100%er, like financial independent, or becoming a millionaire and beyond.
Well, Diego, man, pure gold. You gave me goosebumps 2 or 3 times during this episode. Thank you so much. You truly are creating a movement, man. And I just want to commend you again and just thank you so much for walking your talk, for being a leader, for stepping out there, and for being a leader for so many people that also come from circumstances that aren't the best. And you're just such an example of someone who didn't point to those circumstances. You pointed instead to where you wanted to go, and you just persisted till you got there. And here's the crazy thing, bro. you're 32. You're just getting started. Like it's crazy. So
Right.
I just cannot wait to follow your journey, and anybody listening should be following Diego's journey, and I can't wait to see where you'll end up in 3, 4, 5, 10 years, man. It's going to be a beautiful place. So God bless. Thanks for being on. Much love, brother.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you. And I know that we've been friends for years, and since we met in 2015. So we've been following each other's journey, accountability buddies in many different forms. And it's been great to grow with you. And thank you very much for responding to my text messages on that accountability from years ago. And then of course, for being a supportive on my journey and vice versa. And thank you.
You got it, man. Much love.